Now, Birmingham City sit just outside the playoff places at the time of recording. They've already felt the need for a managerial change. They're going to be in town at the weekend, and joining us to preview this one is Tommy Kelsall from the Blues Focus podcast. Evening, Tommy. Thanks for coming on.
Evening, gents. How are we all?
Yeah, all right. I think we're good. Talk to us about the change of manager. Was that necessary or just a good opportunity?
Well, I suppose it's a good opportunity in probably the way that the club wants to move forward. The new board have been very clear about a new identity of a winning mentality, which has definitely lacked at the Blues for about a decade now, really, in terms of when we last were in the Premier League. We've had a very defeatist mentality. We've not really played the best attractive attacking football, and I suppose with Rooney, the idea is that it's going to install that and bring people's attention to the club, which it definitely has done in the recent weeks.
I mean, what have you made? There's only been one game, obviously, so far at the weekend, but he's done the press conference and he's done all the interviews. He was talking about how he was going to go and do a law degree, I think I saw this week, and then the job in the States came up. So have you been impressed by what you've heard so far, or is it a case of having to wait and see?
Well, I've definitely been impressed by what I've heard. I'm enjoying the change in mentality and what the owners are bringing and what Rooney's trying to do as a manager with us as well. His ideas and ambitions for us as a club are going back to the Premier League, back to the top, towards the top of the table, and really trying to create something that just hasn't been there at the club for such a long time, really. What I saw yesterday, though, I was rather disappointed in it, really, because it felt like a mantra, like winning mentality from both Rooney and the owners. It just wasn't there yesterday, and we played Middlesbrough. We lost in the towards the end of the game.
It was a tough start, though, isn't it? Middlesbrough, the form team at the moment.
Yeah, but it definitely is, and I'm definitely not discrediting Rooney for coming in and having the first game and losing that first game, but he definitely didn't play how I thought most of the fans would, myself in particular, because you expect from after all you've been hearing and all you've been expecting, and to come out with rather possession-based play out from the back sort of style, and this attacking winning mentality just didn't seem to be there really, which was really frustrating, particularly from what we were expecting in the build-up, really.
So are you expecting a whole kind of is the whole style of the football going to change? Do you think that's what he's going to do? And that's what he's been brought in to do. He's going to just change the way they play, and it's going to be a completely different approach.
Well, the approach has been changed really because John Eustace had two really good games, his last two games before he was sacked, where we won 4-1 against Huddersfield, played them off the pitch that night, and then 3-1 against West Brom, third time on the bounce, beating West Brom at home now. And those performances, they were fantastic, they were free-flowing, fast attacking football. And then we get to Middlesbrough and we're expecting more of the same, because those were the performances and this team and that attacking winning mentality. And it comes to yesterday and it's not there. So I was a bit confused. I was a bit frustrated. And in reality, I was just rather disappointed with it because I felt like I'd sort of been sold the wrong end of the stick, if that makes sense. I just didn't feel like he was sort of setting the standards there yesterday. And obviously it's his first game, but I'm just rather skeptical for our game against Hull on Wednesday. And then obviously you guys who obviously you're in decent form, obviously coming down from the Championship, you beat Hull yesterday yourselves, didn't you, with a late winner? But it's just I don't want that to be happening again because we've gone down the route of so many managers in the past and so many different ideas and styles and everything. I want this one to work because I feel like it can, and I buy into the winning mentality, but it's just didn't get it yesterday. I was disappointed with it.
Do you think he's going to be worth the £1.5 million a year?
I don't know.
Although he denied that this week, didn't he? He denied that it was that much. Glen, just a bit on Rooney. I mean, managers come and go, obviously. Were you surprised by that appointment? Did you see that as being his next step?
I mean, firstly, I think Rooney definitely has more about him as a manager. He has something about him as a manager that I would not have predicted, having seen him as a player and the interviews he did and all that sort of stuff. He clearly knows the game. He's used to, working with very good players. And I quite like the fact that he sort of cut his managerial teeth in a difficult job that he had at Derby. So it is something about him. I cannot get my head around the fact that they sacked John Eustace from the outside, because he was doing a good job. We knew, if one was to be deeply cynical, which is kind of where I stand on a few things.
You are the flag bearer of this.
I'm the flag bearer of deeply cynical. It's an American owner. It's the Tom Brady thing. It's, let's get a manager who's got a profile in America, as Rooney obviously has, because he played there. And it just seems very strange to me when you're an owner coming into a championship club. Obviously, the end game is to get promoted into the Premier League. That's what it's all about. And John Eustace had the team in 6th place, and if it falls away, then okay, make the change. But it does seem a bit strange to make it now. But then I guess on the other side of that, we all slaughtered Cortese when he got rid of Nigel Atkins when we were doing reasonably okay, because he had this utter conviction that bringing in Pochettino was the thing to do, and it turned out to be the right thing. So it is a strange one. There'll be lots of people thinking hope it fails, because it's a dumb thing to have done. But I'd be interested to know, sort of percentage-wise, what the Blues fans in favour and not in favour. I know, Tommy, honestly, mate, it's one game, and yeah, you might think you would have won if Eustace was still in charge or played a different way. But it is one game. We're trying to learn a completely new style this year, and I've got frustrated with some of our fans with the we want it all now. It's one game, just see how it goes. But I mean, so maybe I hope you beat Hull, but I hope you get absolutely
Chances are we probably will, to be fair, against the former Premier League side from last year. I'm interested to see as well. Obviously, you've got one of our former players, Che Adams, as well. So I'm looking forward to see how
you won't see much of him, Tommy.
Would you like him?
I'd love him back. Yeah, maybe he can come and bag us a few goals like he did for us.
I used to work for a Birmingham-based company, and I used to have a guy called Chris who was absolutely distraught when Che Adams left and joined Saints, and he was telling me that what a great player he is, and for a while I believed him. But no, we've not seen much of it this year. Is the point, Tommy?
It's rather disappointing.
Yeah.
Does it make it, Alfie, more interesting for you as a journalist with Wayne Rooney in the opposition dugout? I guess the headlines kind of write themselves a bit, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said no. Obviously, it really does. That's clear as Glen's hit the nail on the head. That is almost certainly why they've made the change. It's just a much bigger profile person. There's so much more eyes on it, so much more interest in it. And for me personally, it's going to be really interesting to see how it go on. He did really well at Derby, in my opinion. I'm obviously no expert on Derby, but I certainly didn't follow him when he was at Washington DC. So the MLS is not an interest of mine at all. I'm sure you probably all agree with that. But he did really well at Derby, and I'd be interested to see how he gets on. From a personal point of view, I mean, I'm really excited to be in the same room with Wayne Rooney. I think we have a sort of professional responsibility to not sort of fanboy over people. But at the end of the day, Wayne Rooney is one of England's best ever players. My favourite player growing up for a very long time, because he's obviously the captain of England. And it'll be quite interesting. I'm going to have to try and think of a Southampton-related question that I can ask him, just because I can't miss that chance.
Steve, were you surprised when they made the change? What have you made of Rooney coming in? You can see the sense behind it?
I think the timing's very odd. I think if they'd decided, right, this is what we want to do. I mean, when did the takeover go through? It was like January, was it? And if at the end of the day, if the owner's got this idea that this is what we want to do, we want to bring in more sort of a higher profile manager and kind of drive interest in the football club as a result of that. Surely you do that in the summer. Because if you're not prepared to kind of back John Eustace properly, which they evidently aren't, if given that they've made this change so quickly and relatively out of the blue in terms of sort of following results, then yeah, I mean, kind of why have you let it stew for 2 or 3 months? That just feels kind of.
I might be wrong, Steve. I might be wrong, but
foot a little bit.
I think he only just left DC United at the end of their regular season a couple of weeks ago. So I think he's literally just become available. So maybe it's just a chance of he's come available, we've got to go now.
But I mean, I mean, DC United, from my memory, as you say, I don't pay that much attention to MLS other than seeing Billy Sharp banging in loads of goals for LA Galaxy. But DC United, I think, finished bottom of their conference. So they weren't very good. They weren't making the playoffs. And surely, as a result, Rooney would have been available probably in July. If they wanted him so badly, they'd have found a way of making it work. And doing it in October feels like, Wayne Rooney's available. That's a good idea. Let's try that, rather than it being an actual strategy. It feels like a very sort of reactive move, and one that obviously kind of halts any momentum that the team had built up. I mean, as you say, they've obviously gone up to Middlesbrough on Saturday and not played well and got beaten. I mean, they are not the first team to have gone up to Middlesbrough expecting to win and coming a cropper. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, as Glenn said, it's only one game, and you can't take one game in isolation to kind of get any sort of boundary on it. But it does feel like that sort of performance and that sort of result is the one where players go out when they've had a manager that they've been comfortable working with for a long period of time, and all of a sudden new guys come in. Even if the message is largely the same, there's still a bit of confusion around. And I guess in that situation, that's Rooney's first task, is basically just to steady the ship and get them back playing the way they were last week. Such is kind of the sort of fast-paced nature of the Championship. But I mean, it feels like he's probably got a harder job on his hands than he would have done in terms of persuading people, whether that's inside the club or outside the club, than he would have done if they'd appointed him in the summer.
Yeah, no.
So, Tommy, manager aside, what sort of game are we expecting? Who do we need to look out for? What can we expect from the game?
We've got some really good attacking players this season. We've made some great recruitments. Siriki Dembele from Bournemouth, formerly of Peterborough, was a massive fan of his anyway before he joined us. So I was really delighted when he joined in the summer. He was quick, he's agile, he's incredibly skillful, really difficult to knock off the ball, but was perhaps used a bit wrong yesterday. Played more in a more central role. He's definitely a wide man, definitely works better out on the wing. I've also got a really tricky Japanese midfielder, Koji Miyoshi. Scored an absolute belter for his first goal against Bristol City. Really pretty much just the same as Dembele. Probably not as skillful. Dembele's far more skillful. I think he's just got that experience in the Championship and just learns when to nick the ball past players and everything. We've got Jay Stansfield, who's a great attacking player, great finisher, really good one-on-one. And we've got a fairly decent back line as well. I mean, they didn't perform to their best yesterday. They were a bit exposed. But when they're on their game, they're really good. We've got Dion Sanderson from Wolves, who was with Wolves last season. Kevin Long, who was formerly with Burnley. He's been one of the best in the air this season in defence. John Ruddy as well, who was absolutely solid and has been since he's joined us. He's been really, great shot stopper, great in the air. His distribution is absolutely fantastic. And we've got a few players who still have yet to come back as well, like Ethan Laird and Lee Buchanan as well, who've both been absolutely fantastic in the fullback positions. So we are a well put together team. I feel like we've really done some good business over the summer. We've really had that sort of sense really of just like sensible signings for the right amount, putting in like different players where it's needed positions. Because last season, if this game was last season, I'd have been expecting 4 or 5. I mean, obviously it could be anything like that again this season, but just as like last season, we had nowhere near the competition. We are a very much revamped team. But I'm still looking forward to it. I've never been to St Mary's. It's a stadium that I've wanted to go to for a while. But now obviously it's one I can tick off the list.
It feels a bit like it's all there. If the squad, you've got the players, and if that all starts to click and they can start playing the way that Rooney wants them to play, it feels like the playoffs maybe it could be a good year if it all comes together.
We can definitely push. I don't think we can make it. I still think there's better teams above us. Probably you guys, Leicester and Leeds as well. Those ones are going to be hard to beat, really, to get into those playoff spots, and consistency as well, because it's long season. Players get tired, players get injured. We do have a fair few injury-prone players as well. But if we've put in like 10 out of 10 performances each week, the chances are we will win. It's just those ones where we're a little bit slow, a little bit worn out, perhaps. We've got a couple of games coming
We're
up.
familiar with those.
Yeah. So we've got Hull on Wednesday, we've got Hughes on Saturday, and then I think we've got Ipswich in the week as well, or we might have that one on Saturday. But if it is on Saturday, that'll be a good rest for the players, because some of those players, I mean, Bielik, who's been one of our best players since he's joined, really solid midfielder, who's great at Derby. He's fantastic. He's just so injury prone. That's his problem. He's just like one knock and he could be out for like 8 months. Like, nobody can tell really with him. It's just he's such a fragile player, but he's fantastic as well, really. It's tricky really to weigh out how the season's going to go, because we do have those players, we do have those times. It's sort of reflects Blues as a whole, really.
I'll get your score prediction in just a moment, Tommy. I'm going to ask the guys first. Steve, do you want to go first with your score prediction for this one?
Yeah, I mean, lunchtime kickoffs are always annoying, aren't they? General lack of atmosphere because nobody's had enough time to get any booze inside of them.
Yep.
So yeah, I do. My concern is it'll be a little bit flat, a little bit like the Rotherham game where everyone was kind of just expecting us to steamroll them. At least where this one's on TV, there's a bit of national interest with Rooney. It might wake a few people up a little bit. But I think we've certainly got enough to beat them. But they've been as you say, they've been in decent nick. See what happens midweek against Hull, but that'll be a good barometer. But I think we can win it. And again, no clean sheet, not a chance. So go slightly more entertaining, 3-2.
Okay, Glenn.
Yeah, rock and roll, going for the clean sheet.
Go on.
Yeah, no, I'll go for a 2-0 win. I fancy that one day we're going to have a relatively inverted, put it in quotes, routine win. So that would be nice if it was
first of the
one.
season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be at the game obviously, but I'll be interested in seeing what the Sky coverage is like, because I think it'll be like being in the Premier League all over again, where all the focus will be on the opposition.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the Premier League's biggest ever players, and Sky love all that stuff. So I imagine it will be incredibly one-sided for those watching it at home. It'd probably be two Brum pundits in the studio and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it should be interesting from that point of view. But yeah, I see us winning this one.
Alfie?
Yeah, I've been tossing over a few results in my head, really. It was interesting listening to Tommy talk about the attacking players and the threat that you could pose. And Steve made a really good point about it being so half 12, that's flat, but it's Wayne Rooney, it could come alive a little bit. And I think I'm dead bottom of the predictions league. I've had a terrible time of it. I need some points. I'm going to play the percentages. They keep winning 2-1, so I'm going to go 2-1 for this one as well. And at least one of them this week will be right. If they win both of the games, they'll be top 3. But potentially they'll be in the top 4, and it could be 2 points off third. So we'll take that.
Bit of a turnaround. And Tommy, score prediction from you, please.
Well, it's a long journey because, like myself, I live up north, so I don't even live in Birmingham. So
what time have you got to set off then for the 12:30 kickoff?
Oh, don't even remind me. So it's about a 3.5-hour journey down for us. So, gosh, I can't even imagine. So we probably get there for about 11. So it's probably like a 7. So
yeah,
I'm not looking forward to that. Really hoping that we at least play well in that game. I don't think we'll win. It's always tricky going away from home, and like you guys say, lunchtime kickoff, it's always quite flat, quite dull. So I would be happy with a 2-2. I think we can score goals. I don't think we can keep them out, particularly against some players probably are Premier League quality. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. I'd be happy with a 2-2. I'd mostly after yesterday, I'd be happy with a good performance, really. But we've got Hull in the week, and probably that will be a good sort of representation of what could be on Saturday. But yeah, points, and if we can nick something as well, we can win it, then that's even better. But I think 2-2. I think I could see something like that happening.
There'll be
To
a
have
few,
Middlesbrough, Hull, and Saints in a row is a really tough start as well. To be fair.
and then Ipswich as well. Did you say after
Ipswich
that
and
too? So,
Sunderland after
yeah.
that. Yeah, very
Ouch.
tricky.
no easy
Two-
games. There'll be a few Birmingham fans watching, I'm sure, Tommy. So where can they find you on socials if they want to find you or the podcast?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can find us at Blues Focus on YouTube, Blues_Focus on Twitter and Instagram. We do loads of stuff. We do loads of podcasts, reaction videos, and news. I run a regular match day vlog myself. I'll be there on Saturday in the away end. Yeah, it's gonna be. You come subscribe to us. Come and
Cool.
come watch our stuff. Yeah, man.
That's been really insightful. Thank you for coming on. Have a safe trip down
cheers.
at the weekend. And if it's all right with you, we'll catch up with you later on in the season.
Absolutely, mate. Thank you very
Nice
much.
one. All right. Cheers, Tommy. Thank
Cheers.
you for coming.